Welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute devotional podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse. Broadcast from the ever-beautiful Sharonville, Ohio, on the sunny side of Cincinnati. Hey there, friends. Welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro. Here in the Bible Bistro, we have other programs as well as Daily Dose Radio. We have the Creek Road Baptist Pulpit, and we have the School of Wisdom podcast. School of Wisdom podcast is actually reaching its end because I think it's this week we upload the last chapter of Proverbs, which is chapter 31. So we're coming to the end of that commentary series. I hope that you've availed yourself of that. Check out those other programs here in the Bible Bistro, but today we're in Psalm 116, verses 5 through 8. Let me read those for you. Gracious is the Lord and righteous. Yea, our God is merciful. The Lord preserves the simple. I was brought low, and he helped me. Return unto thy rest, O my soul, for the Lord hath dealt bountifully with thee. For thou hast delivered my soul from death, mine eyes from tears, and my feet from falling. Now, I said yesterday that 5 through 8 is a commentary on, or a parallel to, verses 1 through 4. Actually, more like parallel or commentary to verses 2 through 4. And I want you to notice how that works. So, for example, verse 5 is a reflection or a commentary on verse 2. But verse 2 says, Because he hath inclined his ear unto me, therefore will I call upon him as long as I live. Verse 5 says, Gracious is the Lord and righteous. Yea, our God is merciful. You see, this whole thing is about prayer. He says, I love the Lord, and he gives us his because. And I asked you yesterday, what is your because? He gives us his because, and his because is, he heard my voice, my supplication, inclined his ear unto me. Well, he comments on that in 5 and says, Gracious is the Lord and righteous. Yea, our God is merciful. Do you know every time you pray, it is an act of God's mercy to hear you. He doesn't need to hear you. He has no obligation to hear you. So when he hears your prayer, he is acting graciously and mercifully towards you. But also notice it says, and righteous. I think this is a warning for us when we pray. Be careful that your prayer is not vain. Be careful that your prayer is not selfish and hateful. Be careful of that because we have a righteous God who's listening, mercifully listening to us, but he is a God of righteousness, and his righteousness cuts both ways, cuts towards us and away from us. So we must be careful with our praying that it is humble, that it's the poor man's prayer, that it's the needy man's prayer, not that it's the haughty man's prayer. We don't need that. Throw that away. Put that in the bin. Then verse 6, the Lord preserves the simple. I was brought low, and he helped me. Verse 7, return unto thy rest, O my soul, for the Lord hath dealt bountifully with thee. You'll notice how that is a reflection of, and a commentary, I think, on verse 3. The sorrows of death compassed me, the pains of hell gat hold upon me. I found trouble and sorrow. But in 6 and 7, the Lord preserved him. The Lord helped him. He allowed his soul to return to its rest. His soul had no rest, right? Because the sorrow of death, the pains of hell, trouble and sorrow, your soul is not going to have rest under those conditions. And then notice also verse 8, you delivered my soul from death. Now this is a direct answer to the request in verse 4. Then I called upon the Lord, the name of the Lord. O Lord, I beseech thee, deliver my soul. And then what does he say in 8? For thou hast delivered my soul from death. So exactly what he asked for, the Lord answers specifically. But not just that. My eyes from tears, my feet from falling. So the Lord kept him. The Lord preserved soul and body, and in this answer delivered him from death. How wonderful. All right, join me again tomorrow, and we'll look at verses 9 through 12 on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. I'm David Smith. The music today has been performed by the Bluegrass Experiment. Thanks again for listening. I'll see you next time on Daily Dose Radio.